Is it Erika? All of the many arms that lifted Renov up were sliced off. The Seven Sisters used this chance to fly forward and grab Renov, dragging him back. Oh, it was her. Which of you mentioned mystery? Does Leonard's blade work on them? I see, if our foes are calling it a mystery. Blood-red longsword in hand, Leonard slowly walked forward. Behind her walked Will, tapping his back with his black blade. If you don't think this is a fantasy, then let's have your theories. I cannot wait to hear your explanations. Nice. The crowd of goats stepped back. Though they had been so vicious against the illusions, they stepped back when faced with this pair wielding swords of mystery. There have been a great many closed-room murders on this game board. Choose whichever you please and we will parry all of your attacks. No, we don't have to defend anything. Indeed, the purpose of a mystery is to offer a challenge. There's no need for us to play defense. Do you get it yet? You're the ones in the hot seat now. Blue Truth cut the goats apart. That Blue Truth dwelt within each and every one of the riddles from Beatrice's game so far. What about the closed room with the chain? First game, second twilight. What about the closed room of the chapel? Second game, first twilight. What about the trick to killing Nunjal? Third game, ninth twilight. There was no end to the blades. The countless riddles Beatrice had left behind became blades, challenges that tore the goats apart. If they wanted to deny fantasy, they would have to make a counter-argument. They would have to deal with every single trick as a mystery. However, while most of the goats called themselves anti-fantasy, they hadn't thought of any answers for the mystery. Though every now and then, goats with answers did appear.
So someone outside the Ushidumi family was hiding on the island and...
We had that already. Noxus first. It is forbidden for the culprit to be anyone not mentioned in the early part of the story.
There were multiple culprits all working separately and it just happened to look like a single culprit.
Van Dyne's 12. There must be but one true culprit.
You mean everything but that is forbidden?
Boring, right? To have a genre like that. Personally, I think mysteries should be more flexible. Didn't you come up with those rules?
The 10 Nox commandments and the 20 Van Dyne rules are behind the times. The definition of the mystery genre should change with the era.
And now they get uppity. Perhaps we are behind the times. In that case, let's see if you have any theories that can satisfy us. The whole crowd of goats charged out. In their fangs, each of them carried theories to crush Beato's closed rooms. The bodies of these goats differed from those who had become corpses so easily. They had mystery-style answers to several closed rooms, so it would take several blade hits to give them a fatal wound. However, Beato had left many blades behind. All of them were exceedingly sharp, so the pair of inquisitors didn't think this would be a desperate battle. This is mystery. The goal is to use all your imagination and knowledge to challenge each of the riddles head-on. Doing so is the greatest pleasure of the mystery genre. So they laughed. Both Will and Leonard laughed. With smiles of admiration at the theories the goats had put everything they had into, they countered with blades from all the closed rooms. The crowd of goats was no longer an encirclement, but a great wave threatening to swallow the pair up, and yet the pair repelled the enemy without giving an inch. They resisted firmly, cutting through the wave of wailing goats. It was like an ice-breaking ship knocking a path through a frozen sea.
They entered the closed room through a hidden passage that no one else could use and...
Noxus third. It is forbidden for hidden passages to exist.
After the hidden passage was used, it was well shut and became unusable, so no hidden passages existed at the time of the inspection.
Noxus 8. It is forbidden for the case to be resolved with clues that are not presented.
These are all fake murders, so no one is actually dead. So all closed rooms were constructed by the so-called victims.
Leonard hesitated for just an instant. After all, this cliched and simple theory managed to get around both Beato's closed rooms and the Nox commandments. Leonard saw nothingness inside the goat's massive jaws. Yeah, I'm sure Van Dyne has something to say about that. Van Dyne's 7. It is forbidden to have a crime without a corpse. The goat's jaws seemed to close around Leonard's head. However, the upper and lower jaws were no longer connected, so the upper half merely slid off to the side. I guess even the great Knox forgot to forbid fake murders. There are many splendid mysteries besides murder. The goats wandered back off and let the pair have a nice long chat about the mystery genre. The next massive figure immediately enveloped them. Will's blade drew a diagonal slash across his chest, but it only cut through its clothes, leaving no wound. Huh? The 20 wedges don't work on this one. Leonard also hit it with a long sword, but still, it just cut its clothes without leaving a mark on its body. Could this goat have a theory that doesn't violate Knox or Van Dyne? Knox and Van Dyne are meaningless. All closed rooms can be explained by a single solution. After all. In an attempt to stop the goat from saying any more, Will and Leonard hit it with blades from every closed room as well as stakes from the 10 Commandments and the 20 Rules, but none of them had any effect. Slowly the goat clenched its massive fists together and raised them up high. After all. Well. With a roar, Will slammed into the goat giant with its body. Though its massive bulk bent back slightly, Will was still leaping into a death trap. However, if he hadn't done so, he wouldn't have been able to protect Leonard. The goat grabbed Will. It lifted him up and held him high in the air. It was like a little kid showing off his favorite toy and waving it around. Let's hear your theory. If I'm to hear a great theory before I die, it'll be a fitting end for a rite. Van Dyne and Knox are useless for making theories. The goat's massive hands closed on Will like a vise. All the bones in Will's body were creaking. Let's hear your theory. There's no need for a theory. What? After all, making theories for any of Beatrice's games is a waste of time. What do you mean? This isn't an orthodox mystery, so thinking about it is just a waste of time. I won't accept Beatrice's game as a mystery. There are no answers to the tricks. It's all just an illusion. Thinking is just a waste of time. No. Will's head was lowered, so his face couldn't be seen. However, the arm of the goat holding him was shaking. The embrace of those log-sized arms with superhuman strength was being slowly pushed away by Will's shaking arms. Thinking is just a waste of time? You say that and you call yourself a mystery novel reader? The mystery genre is like chivalry. You fight with the noble rules you've created, with pride in the stands you've taken. Is it worth being a coward if it'll help you win? Does losing make the whole fight meaningless if you fought with everything you had? This isn't about winning and losing. I think it's Will talking and they're just making a shocked face. It's about applauding the will to fight even in the most dire circumstances. The goat's arms were now spread wide, and it looked as though Will was now the one pushing it back. Will's face was covered in shadow and couldn't be seen. People like you who call themselves mystery readers, even though they never even try to solve mysteries. You're the ones I really can't stand. Will slammed his forehead into the goat's now unprotected head. If you call yourself a mystery reader, we proudly join in on a battle of wits. If you call yourself a mystery reader, it's about time you realize giving up is nothing to brag about. Will hit it with his head over and over again. His forehead had been torn apart by the goat's fangs, but he kept on hitting it. Van Dyne and Knox may be behind the times. The mystery genre does progress with time, just like the world around it. However, there's one thing that never changes. That is pride. What is a knight proud of? Not victory. He's proud of his courage, which lets him stand up to anyone without fear. Will couldn't forgive the kind of coward who could turn tail from a fight and then brag about it. People who call themselves mystery readers but who have no pride are the only people Will just can't stand. The goat, unable to put up with this anymore, threw Will down to the floor. Then he lifted his fists again, determined to crush Will to pieces this time. Come, you probably will beat me to a pulp, but there'll be no victory for you. You'll destroy your own pride with your own hands. Pointless, this is no mystery, so why make theories? Thinking is just a waste of time. Useless, die. A fist like a cannonball swinging down towards him was the very last thing Will saw before he shut his eyes. In this game, if you stop thinking, Oh. In this game, if you give up, that means you lose, right? Bella smashed his fist into the goat's mouth, and smashed teeth bounced off the ceiling. Bella-sama! If you stop thinking, it means you've given up on the story being a mystery, which means as far as you're concerned, this game is a fantasy. Bella lifted up his arm. Realizing this was a signal, Lucifer and Sister 00 jumped. If you stop thinking, you don't deserve to be an actor on the stage. Stop trying to sound smart and go eat some popcorn from the stands or something. The goat lifted his fist again and swung it down at Bella like a hammer. If you've surrendered to fantasy, that just makes you another target, yeah. Is it the same as acknowledging that we exist? Begin recognition of hostile elements. Mark all targets vulnerable to magical attacks on our HMDs. Kids who surrender to fantasy get to deal with us. And if you have a theory, we will hear it out. We'll welcome those people with open arms. Out of respect for them, we won't hold anything back.
Oh, but it would seem that this is Bella-sama's time to shine.
While I'd like to listen to all your favorite theories, both mystery and fantasy, this isn't your game right now. No matter how much your future fragments try to deny us, this is no time for me to be defeated. The golden glint gathered in Bella's hand. It was so bright that the whole hall was bathed in gold. Golden butterflies flitted about as though the whole room was being swallowed up by the golden land. Bella lifted his golden longsword high. Feel free to challenge Beato's game as a mystery or a fantasy. I'll welcome it. But I'm not gonna let you deny this final game of mine. Feel the shame of your indiscretion, of impugning the honor of those who have passed away. A slice of the golden longsword flooded the hall with a sea of golden light. Then the whole group of ghosts clamoring about the hall turned into clouds of gold butterflies and scattered. Even so, only about 100 of them had been wiped out. Before long, the massive crowds of goats outside would probably come pouring in. The Sirgethude and the others are working will be finished in a bit. Sorry, but I'll have to ask you to hold out here a little longer. Of course, Lord Battler. Otherwise, we wouldn't get to show off. You know, you two could try fighting just a little. But we're just the MCs. The excessively blunt refusal drew a few strange smiles. However, it lessened the tension in the room just a bit. Bella-sama, leave this to us. We won't allow the erosion to proceed any further, and not one of us will be left behind. Of course, we are all precious pieces on Lord Battler's game board. The Seven Sisters of Purgatory, the Chester Sisters corpse, and everyone else nodded forcefully. Yeah, I'm counting on all of you. We'll definitely protect this final game I made for Angie. They're managing to hold their ground down below. The door to the Golden Land continues to open slowly. It will still take some time though. That's right, we'd better start buying some time ourselves. The sea of ghosts that covered the ground below them was jostling about more and more. By now even the sea surrounding the island had disappeared. You alright? The horizon was gone, and the chewed-up island was now floating on an eerie emptiness like space. The goats that flooded the edges of Rothenjima seemed to be spilling up the sides. Looks like that's it for this game board. As long as there's a game master in pieces, the game board can always be laid out again. As long as you have two people together, you can create any sort of game. True, where on earth is Angie? Where did you hide that? That's right, the chapel. What's happened to the chapel? It's still there. The chapel looked like a white building floating in the pitch-black sea of goats. Yes, this was strange. There was no way those goats who consumed everything would go out of their way to avoid just the chapel. That's where Angie is. Outside the chapel was a sea of goats. Very soon the earth around the chapel would be eaten away and would probably end up floating on nothingness. The rampage of the goats, as they devoured everything and recited the tragedies they had imagined, was truly making a lot of noise. However, none of that reached inside the chapel. Angie finally broke the magic seal on the entrance and stepped inside. The seal was supposed to be unbreakable by anyone. However, in the face of Angie Beatrice, Witch of Truth, the one who sought the truth and could sweep aside all forces that prevented her from finding it, no barrier was absolute. There it is. A single book, tightly locked, rested on the altar. It was the hidden diary that Ushida Eva had continued to write in, even in her later years. The Book of the Single Truth. It was the one Featherine had shown her in the world of 1998. This time I have the key. I gripped the gold key that sat in my pocket, the key Oni-chan gave me. As I approached the altar, I saw that the Book of the Single Truth was wrapped in a strange bending of the light. So this is that seal of the Game Master that Bianca still talked about. The Book of the Single Truth was sealed in something like a crystal. It was a seal made by the Game Master's authority. This was on a different level than the breakable magic seal on the chapel door. No matter how Angie used her power as a Witch of Truth, this couldn't be broken by anyone except the Game Master. However, this time Bella wasn't the only Game Master. So sorry, Oni-chan. Bianca's a Game Master too. I just need to take this to her and have her break the seal. Angie slowly approached the altar. Will Angie really do as you say? This is my little sister we're talking about, so yeah, probably not. Then what will we do? Looks like we've got nothing to go on but brute force. Oh, at that moment, a fierce impact hit the pair of them. Beata was flung away and Bella was sealed inside a massive crystal that extended up to the heavens. Damn, what the hell is this? Bella, what is this? It was a barrier, a massive cage of crystal. Bella was shut inside a crystal cage like a tower, so large that you had to look up to see the top. Beata, I need you to take care of Angie. What will you do? Can you break free from this all by yourself from the inside? Is this a closed room barrier? Who could have... There's only one person who challenged me with a closed room. Looks like our final guest has finally arrived. You don't mean... Go and take care of Angie. Beata left Battler to handle this on his own and headed for the chapel. Battler took a deep breath, then smiled daringly. I've been waiting for you. Was it boring in that Depth of Oblivion place? The answer was a laugh. Yeah, that's right. That laugh is enough. Looks like you're doing well. It wasn't boring. After all, I believed. I'll bet you did. I believed too. Bella flung off the cape of the Territory Lord. It would only get in the way, and it would be a rude way to welcome his final guest. Those dark depths were the perfect place to think up mysteries I could fight you with when we met again. So this crystal cage is the ring for our duel. A chain deathmatch with nowhere to run. Now that you mention it, we're always fighting over closed rooms with chains. Then let's use that. Make it a real chain deathmatch. I'm prepared, but what about you? I am. I told you, didn't I? I believed, too. At the same time, they both brandished their mysteries, sealing the other in a chain-closed room. Come, Furoro Erika. Entertain me well, Asran. At the same time, they were both sealed inside a closed room locked with a chain. Of course, it was easy to set and unset the chain from the inside. However, stepping into their opponent's chained room would be difficult. They were fighting to the death with two chained closed rooms at once. There could be no better closed room duel for these two who had battled with theories concerning chained rooms so often. Furoro Erika committed suicide, died in an accident, died of an illness, died by some reason other than homicide. It wasn't a suicide, it wasn't an accidental death, it wasn't a death by illness, I really was killed by you, Battle-san. It was a murder committed by slipping poison gas through the crack of the door by filling the room with water and drowning you by sucking the oxygen out of the room and making you suffocate. There was no poison gas, there was no drowning, there was no death by suffocation. Closed room murder with poison gas, death by drowning, suffocation? Crazy, right? It's funny, isn't it? Good to this. Yoshida Battler committed suicide. He died in an accident. He was killed by an illness. Time for me to test your closed room. Red truth. Yoshida Battler was stabbed to death. Let's say the weapon was a knife stuck right into his neck. Good dog. Nothing beats a classic closed room. Then why don't you try it too? I'll take the challenge with the red truth. Furoro Erika was stabbed to death. The weapon was a knife stuck right in her back. Interesting. I'll tear your closed room to bits. What's this supposed to be? Battler is busy at the moment, but now I shall be your opponent. Beato had sealed the chapel with a closed room barrier. Unless that riddle was smashed with blue truth, Angie wouldn't be able to leave. After shrugging impatiently, Angie finally faced Beato. This might be the first time I've fought you directly. Oh, is it now? Very well, let's see what you've got. However, Battler isn't here at the moment. When he's not around, I sometimes forget to hold back. What a coincidence. I feel the same. I killed you inside a perfect closed room with windows, doors, and all other methods of entry or exit blocked. Okay, I'll play along with your game. Repeat it. It's boss fight time all over the place. And then you see, we'll set it up so that among the works entered in Company X's mystery novel contest, yet another one of the great Hachijo's works will appear under a false name. Of course, we'll then move on with the movie version and the TV drama bundled in. We here at Company X would be honored to accept your manuscript. And am I getting prize money out of this? But of course, the 10 million yen prize for Company X's first mystery novel contest will all go to you, and much more besides. Splendid. You've caught my interest. That's why I've decided not to write up a manuscript for you. What? Madam Hachijo, why? Everything had seemed to be going so smoothly up until then, so the sudden refusal made the people from the publishing company fall over in their sofa. I guess that might have been the "they have arrived" that somebody was referring to. This little scheme of yours is far more interesting than the manuscript I wrote. In that case, it wouldn't be fitting to hand it over to you. It was always a worthless story. I wanted to lure my ignorant readers into lauding it, making them feel as though they'd performed some magnificent reasoning. I was hoping that you children of men would recognize the irony and laugh at your own mistake, but it looks like you've taken it seriously. Yes, I can say I'm ashamed at my own failure as a writer. Of course not. Please forgive us. Please let us use your... I have no need for money, but some pet food would be nice. Pet food? Oh, for your cat. There was a rumor that you had a cat who liked dried plums. Yes, as you wish. Quickly, let's have a high-quality assortment of dried plums brought in here. She only eats the ones that are packaged separately at 200 yen apiece. Damn. At this rate, she'll die of high blood pressure. She snacks on kimchi and spicy miso all the time, too. Really, there must be something wrong with that cat's tongue. The cat meowed in objection from where it lay on top of the bookshelf. I cannot give you this manuscript, but why don't I write up a new one for your company's contest? However, I won't write it under my name. It's estimated that thousands of manuscripts will be sent in for your contest. If you manage to pick mine out from the pack, and if you also find it deserving of the prize, then I would be happy to continue our discussion just now. How does that sound? Just the honor of receiving your manuscript is more than enough. You people truly are amusing, fawning and cringing all the time. But I've grown weary of this for today. Leave now. Meeting with children of men can be so tiring. We are deeply grateful for your kindness in allowing us this meeting. A servant guided the people from the publishing company to the door. In the study that was now finally quiet, Hachijo Toya let out a sigh, slumped down in the sofa and gazed at the ceiling. It is tiring, but the stimulation of talking with a child of man isn't such a bad thing in small doses. It's good for you to talk to people every now and then. You'll go senile if you stay shut in all the time. The black cat leapt from the bookshelf and landed softly on the carpet. Then its form silently twisted and became that of Bandcastle. Indeed, they certainly can be entertaining. Inviting them over now and then may go a long way towards alleviating my boredom. At any rate, I think I will write that manuscript when I feel like it. It sounds like they'll even bring a gift for you. What's all this about pet food? How rude. Well, that's what it is. Here. Hachijo picked up a jar from a shelf, then took a dried plum out and threw it into the air. In an instant, Bandcastle turned back into a black cat, caught it in mid-air and started munching away. Madame Hachijo, your guests have departed. A servant knocked on the door before making this announcement. Thank you. Let me know if that one wakes up. As you wish. Would you like some tea? No. I'm going to write for a bit. Please don't disturb me.
Yes, ma'am.
After waiting for the servant's footsteps to disappear into the distance, Hachijo moved to her desk. The desk certainly looked as though it belonged to a great writer, with pages of manuscripts scattered across it. Even though the century is almost over, you still write with a pen. The black cat spoke as it tore the dried plum apart with its mouth. Tales are to be written with ink. To me, that is an unbreakable rule. So you write it once with ink, then type the whole thing over again with a keyboard. Pretty stupid doing the same thing twice. In that case, why does a child of man draw up a tale in their mind and then spit the whole thing out again on a keyboard? How foolish of them to do the same thing twice. Look at it that way and you're doing the same thing 3 times. That was a good one. Even as Hachijo laughed, for her fountain pen was already sliding across the page. Beautiful letters appeared almost as fast and proficiently as a typewriter. Only humans called her creations manuscripts. With her fountain pen and writing paper, she was creating a world. As she did, the hands of the clock would spin around like a top. The light and shadows that came in through the window changed their angle so fast they might have been the hands of a clock themselves. Slowly, she drew a large X across the tightly packed words on the paper. Having trouble? I can't draw it out well. Writing a manuscript to please people is truly a pain. After all, I don't usually write for other people to read. You should try writing down whatever it is you're saying on that manuscript paper. Yeah, I think Bancastle should know all about writing, considering the length of her reports. Bancastle curled up on the sofa, a mocking smile on her face. Normally, whenever Hachijo was writing, Bancastle would never let herself be noticed, much less talk to her. However, Bancastle realized that the other was apparently getting bored with her manuscript, so she yawned and started talking. What is it you're writing anyway? A tale to give to a child of man. Which child of man? It's a tale I promised to write for Umineko who once read for me. Ah, you're still writing that. I can't think of anything to write that would give her satisfaction. Looks like Ao is giving up yet again. You always promise to write a story, then get stuck before you're finished and give up. If I had given up, I wouldn't be worrying over it like this. There's only one tale that Angie wanted from the beginning. The tale of the single truth. Angie said she wanted to know what happened that day. No matter how many tales you write distorting the truth, she'll never be satisfied. And yet I do think my tales are far more interesting than the single truth. Angie doesn't want to read an interesting tale. I promised that child of man that I would write a tale for her sake, so I'm writing a tale to please her. No matter how interesting or uninteresting it is, everything you write is an illusion. Angie doesn't want any of that. Haven't you figured that out yet? The Book of the Single Truth was written by Ushinomiya Eva. Hidden among the pile of writing paper was Eva's diary. Furthermore, the one who wrote this passed away without revealing it to anyone. The one who wrote this passed away without revealing it to anyone. Being the humble writer that I am, I would like to respect that. Don't make me laugh. Is this coming from the person who entertains herself by taking a tale and tearing out its guts? The truth is uninteresting. Is that your opinion after tearing apart the guts of so many tales? You might as well say that. With a self-mocking laugh, Hachijo set down her fountain pen. I certainly have aged. The first thing age taught me was that not knowing is more precious than knowing. That definitely sounds like something an old person would say, but I'll bite. What do you mean? Knowing and not knowing. These two things have a one-way relationship. True, it's possible to switch from not knowing to knowing, but you can't do it the other way around. When I realized that, I saw the noble purity resembling virginity that exists in not knowing. In my attempts to escape boredom, I've torn apart and eaten the guts of as many games and tales as there are stars in the sky, but always my relief from boredom is short-lived. It's all so fleeting that I've started to ignore each tale as an individual story. That's right, if you eat a cat, then you only get to enjoy it for one night. But if you let it live, it might start calling you names and getting sarcastic. Indeed, even the annoying way they break into your sweet's cupboard or sneak into your bed can be part of their charm. Hachijo looked around at the books covering every square inch of the room, then softly patted the cat's back. I might have been able to enjoy a single tale much longer and much more deeply, As I've eaten my way through countless tales to escape boredom, I haven't really been eating them. I've just been killing them. And in the end, they'll kill me back. Hachijo laughed with self-derision. Even in Beato's game, you try to tear the guts out. I just wanted to check my answers. I did try to do it in a way that respected Beatrice, the weaver of this tale. Yeah, I think it was pretty well read, all done so that people who didn't understand wouldn't figure it out. Will it make for a better tale if Angie learns the truth or if she doesn't? To be honest, I don't know anymore. So fully aware that you'll scorn me for it, I've decided to stop writing the rest of this tale. What do you mean? I won't write it. I will merely record it. The tale that Ushidomiya Angie weaves herself. So you're going to do that sort of thing again? After growing tired of 1,000 years of life, I've decided that choosing not to know the truth is the more noble path. However, I now see that it isn't fair to force my opinion on Angie, who hasn't lived even 100 years. So you're going to leave it in Angie's care? Yes, I will silently record it as it plays out. If you're leaving it to Angie, then the rest of this tale is pretty much set in stone, right? So it would seem. Let it be so. After all, in the end, a tale that a child of man weaves for herself will be more fun than any story I could create. In that case, why don't you lend a hand in Angie's tale? You've already given yourself a role in it, haven't you? So it isn't my role to bring this tale to its conclusion? Come on, that's no way for someone in Beato's game to talk. It's your job to tear the guts out of the cat box. Hachijo chuckled, pushed aside the pile of writing paper, and picked up the book of the single truth. Then she opened a locked drawer. That is what Angie desires. Perhaps this book's seal is fated to be broken. Angie will reach the single truth. The single truth will break the seal on the cat box, and everything will then be exposed to the light of day. And so all of those countless message bottles and fragments made up of delightful imaginings, which have been scattered across the ocean of the internet, will fade away like foam on the sea. After all, even that person is surely tired of such fragments. It's about time for that kid's journey to end too. Yes, let us accept this task. As our role demands, let's give this journey an end of the line. At that moment, there were sounds of someone in the hallway. The instant someone knocked on the door, Bancastle turned back into a black cat. Madame Hachijo, please forgive me for interrupting. It was the voice of Hachijo's servant. What is it? If it's a phone call, tell them I'm busy. It isn't that. Toya-sama has woken up. Thank you. Prepare a light meal. Enough for the two of us. As you wish. What do you mean, Toya-sama? Aren't you Hachijo Toya? Hachijo stood up. Then she shut the open drawer and locked it again. Inside the drawer lay a glittering golden key. Repeat it. The definition of a closed room prevents all varieties of entering and exiting. I refuse. By definition, it's impossible for a closed room murder to take place inside a perfect closed room. The chain might have been repaired after it was destroyed. The door might have been repaired after it was destroyed. The wall might have been repaired after it was destroyed. My closed room doesn't involve anything being repaired. Good though. This really is getting fun, Bella-san. Sorry, but I don't have time to play with you right now. I'm sorry too, but as a fellow witch of truth, I can't let you get in Angie's son's way. Come to think of it, you're a witch of truth too, aren't you? I guess that makes you a sort of mentor to Angie. The single truth. It is the supreme, the ultimate. Only a witch of truth can break down all barriers that stand between her and that truth. Is this single truth of yours really so important? There are lots of things in this world that aren't worth knowing. How important is 1986 to Angie really? It isn't important at all. You're probably right. No matter what happened or didn't happen in 1986, it won't change anything for the Angel living in 1998. There's no point in learning that truth. However, there is just one thing that will change. What's that? How she lives! Erika transformed her reasoning into a sized blade and lashed out at Batla over and over. Batla also created a blade from his reasoning and attacked Erika over and over. In the middle of all this, he questioned Erika, the girl who, like Angie, called herself a witch of truth. Just what is the point of exposing the truth? You're right. Knowing often changes how a person lives their life. In that case, I have one hope as her blood relative. I hope that at the end of my game, Angie finds a better way to live her life. Knowing may change how people live, but not always in a good direction. There are plenty of things in this world that you'd be more comfortable not knowing. The number of ticks living in the seats on the train. Those urban legends about nasty stuff in the temple order. The world's full of things you better be up to know. The Book of the Single Truth probably can teach Angel what happened on this island, but what's the point of her knowing that? It'll just increase the sadness he's felt for 12 years. How many more years will it take for her to find happiness as an ordinary girl? How many years will it take for her wounds to be healed? Angel's desire to find the truth is hurting her regardless of what the truth actually is. Though her deep wounds were slow to heal, they did begin to do so during those 12 years. However, Angie kept picking at the scabs. In her search for the truth, she tore at those wounds herself, opening them up once more. It's time for Angie to be free of the sadness of 1986. That's what all of us Ushidumiyas pray for. Who cares about that? The truth is everything. The truth is justice. It's a disease everyone gets at least once, usually in middle school. They just love to find out all those things adults are hiding. But don't you think it's fun to expose things like that? Yeah, totally. Reading dirty books wouldn't be nearly so fun if you didn't have to do it in secret. I deny all of your blue wedges were direct true. None of the methods you suggest could defeat my closed room. Angie was breathing heavily. The Book of the Single Truth was right before her eyes. If she could just defeat Beato, she'd be able to take the book to Bandcastle and then she could read what was inside. Even though the truth of the Final Family Conference on October 4th and 5th of 1986 was right there, the Golden Witch stood in her way. Her anger and hatred spun around inside her head, wiping out the composure necessary to theory making. Angie shook her head several times, clearing away everything that got in the way of calming her mind. However, no matter how many times she thought it through, the closed room sealing her in the chapel was perfect. Angie wasn't particularly familiar with the mystery genre. However, she knew about all the fragments containing Beato's game so far. Her knowledge was shallow, but it should still have been enough to give her a good foothold. However, no matter how many blue truths she shot at Beato, none of them even made the witch flinch. Beato just blew them apart with the red truth and an elegant wave of her pipe. It's about time you gave up. I don't even view this as a game between the two of us. Are you implying that I could never solve this puzzle? I'm just buying time until Bella finishes dealing with Erika. He's the only one who can bring you to your senses. Bring me to my senses? You're the ones making me do this by hiding the single truth. That's why I'm fighting you. This is my right. As the final member of the Ushidomiya family, I have a right to know the truth. Indeed, and that is the purpose of this final game. That's right. Without this final game, I wouldn't have been given a chance to reach the truth. At least for that one thing, I'm grateful. But as for what happened in 1986, as for who took your relatives and your family away from you, as a human, your desire to know the truth is quite natural. However, even knowing this, Batla decided that it would be best if you didn't return to 1986. I know what Oni-chan's trying to say. He's telling me to look to the future and live instead of being stuck in the past, right? Correct. Batla wanted to use this final game to show you that. In that case, there's no need to keep waiting for my answer. The answer is no, Golden Witch. I died back in 1986. I've wandered about like a ghost for 12 years since then. And when Aunt Aoife died, I lost my only reason to stick around on this earth as a ghost. That's why I decided to do one last thing before ending my life. And that thing is learning the truth of 1986. Yeah, got a problem with that? Of course I do, you foolish girl. So if you do reach the truth, you'll die. In that case, I can't let you have it. I must trick you and blind you as much as I can to keep you alive. Bella wants you to live. Living without truth is no better than dying. I'm trying to find the truth so I can live. You just admitted that you were searching for the truth so you could die. True. Yeah, that's right. Now let me rephrase that. I'm trying to find the truth so I can die. I offered up my life when I made my contract with Bandcastle. Also, I could learn what happened that day. That single truth will be the souvenir I take with me to hell. It's useless. You cannot break this closed room. This closed room is perfect, and yet I will kill you in this closed room. She had tried every theory, idea, and every bit of nonsense she could think of. However, none of it had any effect on Beato. Powerless and frustrated with the Book of the Single Truth right before her eyes, Angie bit her lower lip. At first this was supposed to be a game in which you were given a key that would let you decide your future. Liar! You wanted to hide the truth in this chapel, then make me choose a door that leads to some optimistic future. It's not a choice, you're trying to decide for me. Parents have the right to prevent their children from making unsuitable choices. I'm not a kid. I'm an 18-year-old woman who can think and act for herself. Fool! You're just a 6-year-old girl who can't think of anything except the past. And whose fault is that? Because of you, I've been stuck as a 6-year-old all this time. Now it's time for me to tear apart your illusion covering the truth. Yes, now that I think about it, it's not this chapel that you've locked me inside. Since that day in 1986, for all these years you've had me locked away in a closed room where I'm all alone and where no one will tell me the truth. And now I'll tear your closed room apart with my own hands. Yeah, it's useless. It's all useless. I know the trick to your perfect closed room. Repeat it. You murdered me immediately after shutting me into this closed room. I refuse. Of course. You've been killing me for 18 years. Thanks, Beatrice. If you hadn't reminded me, I wouldn't have figured out the trick. Angie, you are young and you have a long future ahead of you. In fact, you are the golden witch who lives in the future, are you not? Then live on in the future. Just how much are past truths really worth? Don't they pale in comparison to the truth of the future, the truth you'll create yourself? My life is trash. My whole family died, leaving just me behind. That's why I'm going back to them once I've gotten my single truth. If you learn the truth, you just have to accept your family's death. Have you ever thought about living on, hoping that by some miracle, one of them might have survived, and that someday you might get a chance to see them again? I'm not worried about that. Even the Witch of Miracles couldn't find a fragment like that. In the Great Hiroshima explosion, almost none of the family's remains were recovered. Some days I hoped that this might be a sign that they had escaped the explosion and survived. That hope gave me the strength to live on. However, that hope wasn't strong enough to support me the 12 years. So even though I wanted to know the truth, I unconsciously averted my eyes. I felt that learning of my family's death for certain would force me to deny any possibility of someone miraculously surviving. But I'm tired of living on and on, with nothing but that impossible hope of a miracle to keep me going. That's why I decided to accept my family's death. I decided to accept the truth no matter what it is. That's why I became a witch of truth. How foolish to be blinded by the truth of the past and unable to see one's own future. Forgive me, Peller. I was not strong enough to guide your sister properly. A blazing blue wedge appeared in Angie's hand. It was long, thick and shaped like a spear. This is the end, Witch of 1986. This closed room is perfect, therefore I can't get out and you can't lay your finger on me from the inside. However, you locked me into this room, so we can say you killed me with a simple trick. You shut me in this perfect closed room and made me starve to death. Since you intentionally did this, it's totally fair to say this is a closed room murder with you as the killer. It looks like being overly vague with the cause of death backfired on you. So long, Witch of Illusions. See you in hell. With a stained glass window behind her, Beatrice spread her arms and let the spear of the blue truth pierce her. The blue spear seemed to crucify Beatrice against the window. Game set. So this is on Eva's diary, the book of the single truth. Angie picked the book up from where it lay on the altar, sealed in crystal. If you read that, then by your contract with Bandcastle, you will die. Learning the truth just to die? Ridiculous. That's right. I'm looking for the truth, so I can die. At least let me choose how I go. I'm not an idiot. I know the real me is still floating in that starry sky. Bandcastle acknowledged me as the final Beatrice and invited me on a journey to learn the truth of 1986. I won't be able to return here again. When Bandcastle told me that and walked off the roof into the black sky, I followed her into the empty air. That was the contract. I wanted two things from Bandcastle. One was for someone from my family to come back. The other was revenge. I wanted to destroy the illusion of the witch that hid the events of that day. I wanted to reach the truth. However, the first of my wishes couldn't come true. After all, even the Witch of Miracles couldn't find a fragment when my family came home. So she wordlessly questioned me. She told me that I couldn't reach the truth unless I had the courage to end this worthless life, where I lived like a ghost, hoping someone might come back. So she walked out into the open air and I followed her. Yes, now I can understand. When I offered to trade away my life, I made one wish and gave up on another. I wished for revenge against the illusion hiding the truth, and now I've succeeded in that revenge, defeating the master of that illusion and obtaining the book of the single truth. What I gave up was my naivety, my continuing belief that someone from my family might come back, and now I can accept that my entire family is dead. Can you make someone alive just because no one knows it any different? These cat boxes you talk about are just naive delusions. The idea that a corpse can live as long as you keep it hidden, but even if you hide a corpse, it's still dead. Do you really think you can heal my wounds by saying they'll always be watching over me from the clouds like some kind of fairy tale? I'm Angie Beatrice, a witch of truth. I'll free myself from that life as a ghost, waiting for a miracle that'll never happen. I'll end my life as a noble martyr who's reached the truth. Didn't you once come to understand the power of magic through Maria's grimoire? Yeah, I understood it. And then I despaired when I realized how powerless it was. And that's what Onichan is trying to force me to use now, isn't it? If I believe if I use magic, then my family will always be by my side. Don't take me for a fool. You think that kind of magic, an illusion, a daydream, can heal those 12 years? And how am I supposed to go on for decades and decades into the future? Someone come back to me, someone. But no one's coming back. So at least tell me what happened that day. Bancastle said she'd tell me. My master, I have the book of the single truth. I'll take it back to you, so give me the truth. For so long I've been prepared to throw away my naive hopes for a miracle. Now tell me the truth of that day. A blinding light poured out of the chapel. It seeped from the windows and the cracks of the door, even reaching as far as Bella's and Erica's eyes. What? It seems Comrade Angie has completed her task. Comrade? It looks like you've set up some pathetic seal, but to my master that'll be easier than thawing frozen sorry fish. Damn, what is frozen sorry fish? Master said I could play with you until Angie finished her task. I've had enough fun from this reunion, so I think it's time for me to leave. Erica gave an elegant curtsy. Why did you talk Angie into looking for the single truth? Your master must know. The truth doesn't mean anything to Angie. Yes, all truth in this world are meaningless. In the end, meaning comes from the mind of each individual human. Even when there is a single truth, it can mean different things to different people. The truth has no meaning in itself. There's just one reason why I'm still stuck on the truth despite it all. Because you're the detective. Good though. But Angie-san isn't a detective. To her, the truth itself is the finish line, a way to mark the end of her unhappy life. Now she's finally finished the final purification ceremony. She's a one-night witch of truth, focused on learning a certain single truth before she dies. A temporary witch for the short time until she slams against the ground. I won't let Angie die. No matter how tough it gets, she has to live. That's the only thing all of us want. If she lives, all sorts of magic and miracles will be possible. If only you had put your arm around her shoulder and told her that directly, you might not have lost. What do you think? Just by hearing you howl, this level of reasoning is possible for Fudo to Erica. Live, Angie! He yelled towards the chapel, but Angie probably wasn't even there anymore. Bella's yell was swallowed by the empty pitch-black sky and the sea of rampaging goats. Comrade Ava, our mission is complete. Let's withdraw. Doshi, okay. Oh, are we done already? And I was just about to tear the island apart with my own Aoife corporate theory. Aoife appeared in mid-air and cackled. Sorry, Balakan, that wasn't strong enough. For 12 years I protected that kid in my own way. I'm grateful. However, she's decided this for herself. She's 18 years old now. Don't you think people should decide how they live their own lives? Sorry for being a doting big brother. Yeah, I'm actually on Team Angie for this. I think it's fair for her to learn the truth if she so desperately wants to. Later, I'm Lady Bancastle's piece at the moment. It's time for me to go. I see you later, Comrade Aoife. Aoife held her palm open and a small, pointy blue fragment appeared there. The fragment burst, and with a blinding flash of light, Aoife vanished. It was the same light that had seeped out of the chapel earlier. Pieces cannot leave the game board, however the Voyager witches alone could come and go. This was probably some sort of magic that Bancastle had given them. Erica opened her palm as well, and the same sort of fragment appeared there. That's enough for now, I think. Who knows, this might be the last time we meet. Yeah, I hope so. Wait, we haven't settled our fight yet. If he could steal the fragment in Erica's hand, he would be able to go to where Bancastle was. The seal surrounding the Book of the Single Truth would probably be melted easily with Bancastle's power. However, even so, it would take her some time. If he could steal that fragment, he would have a chance at bringing Angie back. What is there to settle? Time's up. However, if you feel like taking one last hit, I'd be happy to oblige. Bella had known that Erica wouldn't be able to resist the challenge. After all, he already knew what her trick was. He'd figured it out just a second ago. Even while he spoke with Erica, he had been thinking about it inside his mind. He could finish her with this last strike and take the fragment. Oh, can he? I'm curious. How's this gonna play out?
Let's go, Erika. This'll decide it.
This class will be the last before I go, so go ahead and give me the craziest of your hilarious theories. Your closed room definition started that the walls, windows, floor, ceiling, and chain were all unbeatable. However, there was one possibility that I didn't check because it was too ridiculous. And that was whether or not the chain could be set from the outside. Blue truth. This is the answer to your closed room. The length of the chain. The chain for your closed room was extra long, so it was possible to set it and unset it from outside the room. What a ridiculous answer. However, if you blindly assume that the lock made by an unbreakable chain makes a closed room unbeatable, then this truly would be a perfect closed room. The blue wedge flung from Battle's hand plunged straight into Erika's chest, not head. As she winced in pain, her hand shook, and the fragment she held flew into the air. Your closed room definition stated that walls, windows, floor, door, and chain were all unbeatable. However, wasn't there one really ridiculous thing missing? Blue truth. I think, but was it mentioned during this fight they are having? I thought the fight they are having about two closed rooms now was never really mentioned. The way I understand it is they were trapped inside this barrier and both on the spot thought of some closed room mysteries that each tried to solve the one or the other. The closed room definition, I guess this is Erika now, stated that the walls, window, floor, door, and chain were all unbeatable. However, wasn't there one really ridiculous thing missing? Blue truth, your closed room had no ceiling, so it was possible to enter by climbing over the wall. Erika's blue scythe swung out from behind her back, catching Bella in the side as he stretched his hand out towards the fragment. Bella's hand didn't reach it. The fragment returned to Erika's hands once more. It looks like your tricks were equally ridiculous. The mystery nuts would have been furious, don't you think? But I disagree. To me, the process of exposing that ridiculousness is ecstasy. That's why I'm followed Erika, the detective. Yeah, I think they just trapped themselves in this, or rather, she trapped both of them in this deathmatch ring, so to speak, and they both conjured up some crazy closed room mystery and threw it at the other to solve. And in this case, Erika thought of one where the chain was actually long enough to set it from the outside, but probably mentioned it to Bella in such a way that it was too ridiculous to even think of it. And the same thing, Bella created one where the ceiling was missing. That's what they were fighting over just now. That's how I understood it. I mean, the same with Beato in the chapel. Well, not exactly completely the same, but because that one actually did refer to what happened to Angie, so it referred to something that really happened, more or less. But yeah, I think Erika and Bella just were fighting over a two closed room mysteries that they just created on the spot to have a closed room mystery boss battle, so to speak. Well, I guess if you and me both write down a closed room and then try to solve it, the one each other like that. That's why I'm followed Erika the detective. You also followed Erika the ugly face. Damn it, you figured out the answer a while back, didn't you? Not true. I thought it up between the time you let loose your blue truth and the time you stretched your hand out to grab the fragment. I've just been buying time since the beginning. I only started reasoning a second ago. Erika broke the crystal barrier that surrounded them. Then she flew high up into the sky, looking down on Bella and laughing at him as she gave a final bow. So long, Bella-san. Even if this has been my only time to shine, even if I've outlived my usefulness and I'm about to be thrown back into the depths of oblivion, even so I have no regrets. Wait. Like she'd actually wait just because I told her to. With a blinding flash, Erika vanished. Angie had retrieved the Book of the Single Truth and returned to Bandcastle. Bella and the others had no way to leave the game board. Everything had come to an end. A gold butterfly flitted by and Beato appeared.
My apologies, Battler. I let Angie get away.
I'm sorry too. We've let them escape. It's all over. Battler had created this game for Angie. Now that Angie was gone, the game board no longer had any purpose. And even if that hadn't been the case, the game board itself had been chewed to bits by the goats and was now like a single leaf floating on a sea of nothingness. Thanks to Gertrude and Cornelia's seals, the mansion was protected from the second floor up. The door to the Golden Land was now open wide, enough for a child to slip through. The small people like Maria and Sakutaro went through it.
My friend, I believe the door's opening at a quicker pace. Indeed. To my eyes as well, it seems to be so. Father, is the door open yet? Looks like they're about to break in through the windows. Clownzama, there's no need for you to fear. An Eiserne Jungfrau barrier is not so easily broken. Oh, maybe it is.
Very soon it'll be big enough for adults to go through too. Don't worry, we'll make it in time. But there's knocking and banging everywhere and...
Stay calm and wait. After all, there's nothing else we can do.
Even the outer walls of the mansion were covered with goats, and they were plunging their fangs and fists into the walls and windows trying to crush them. So anyone watching the goats stuck to all the windows in the hallway, smashing their thick arms against the windows, couldn't help but be terrified, even if they knew about the barrier. However, anyone watching the group of goats gathered at the top of the big staircase on the other side of the barrier would probably feel a different emotion. Rather than terror, it was a sad, empty sort of emotion. The barrier was drawn across the landing at the top of the hall's great staircase. Beyond that barrier, everything had already been eaten away. Was it even possible for those who stood in the hallway of the upper floors to believe that this was the Rokkenzimer mansion? By now, no one looking at the scene would be able to imagine such a thing. Forget the hall or even the whole first floor, even the ground itself was almost gone. The sea of goats had eaten everything apart long before this. They had eaten apart the hall, the pillars of the mansion, the floor, the ground, the sea, the very concept of the island. Every part of the game board Battler had created. And now the only leftover was the upper part of the mansion which floated along an empty space. How pitiful. To what do you refer? The goats, in their eagerness to chew this island apart, have eaten up even the ground they stood on, dropping themselves into nothingness. It's kind of funny. There had once been a huge entrance hall. Beyond it had been a vast rose garden. There had been so many places to stand upon. However, now, holes had been dug everywhere, and nearly everything outside the mansion was completely gone. Some goats were clutching to the few remaining footholds and pillars, still eating away at them. Let it be known that exposing the truth is murder. Why can't humans live without killing, I wonder? Throughout their long history, so many have prayed for miracles, but in the end they eat up their own chances at receiving them, eating up the very ground they stand on and falling into the abyss. They saw a goat chewing the same pillow that was holding it up, which unsurprisingly fell into empty blackness along with the goat. Humans are sad creatures, fated to live in order to learn. Oh, that was Leon. Humans are sad creatures, fated to live in order to learn. If learning means eating away at the same hopes and dreams that keep you alive, that will mean humans are born just so they can die. Well, I mean, technically, we're taught that we have to live. However, almost everything that we accomplish in life ends up killing us. Don't think about it. You'll just get a headache. As a single human, I want to ask, is learning a sin? Is living in ignorance the only way we can have hopes and dreams? Both living with knowledge and living in ignorance have their benefits as well as their shortcomings. You're even free to choose which path you take. That's what makes humans powerless. While people can learn, they cannot unlearn. And so, the all-knowing God has stepped in for the sake of humans who cannot unlearn, marking out things that should be learned and things that should not be learned. Too much curiosity can kill your hopes and dreams. Humans are pitiable beings who are unable to simply avoid those things which should not be learned. Lord Battler can hardly be blamed for failing to teach Angie this. And now Angie's gone. This game is over. Struck dumb by Will's words. Oh, that was Will. No, Angie's gone. This game is over. Struck dumb by Will's words, everyone fell silent. Only the sound of the goats eating everything away rang out hollowly. Even if they escaped to the Golden Land, the goats of emptiness would probably chew into that realm as well. Even if they got away for the time being, nothing would be resolved. It was all set in stone now. They had no way to resist the future's violent attempts to tear the catbox of the past open. In that case, we must stay alive. If a human's foolishness makes them throw away their own hopes and dreams in the end, then I want to believe in those things until the last second. Your resolve is impressive. I'm the one hope held by Beatrices of a million worlds, so even at times like this I have to be everyone's hope. I'm not giving up on this game yet. By which you mean... I keep waiting, believing in a miracle until the last second. So you'll keep struggling on and on until it's all over. That's right. After all, last time when we were surrounded by that pack of terrifying cats, we were prepared for death, weren't we? But Lambda Delta's son saved us. If we had given up, if we hadn't had the strength to believe in a miracle, then I'm sure we would have been erased before help could come. Well, it's not like I really saved you. Oh, is that Lambda? Well, it's not like I really saved you. More like Burn just failed to kill you properly, or it might have been some whim of hers. A miraculous whim from the Witch of Miracles. How long had you been there? Lambda Delta was leaning on the handrail of the staircase, eating popcorn. She held the cup of popcorn out, but Leon declined the offer. Petlakon told us. He said Angie-chan made a contract by which she would learn the truth in exchange for her own life. Going by your conversation just now, that was no contract. After all, living and seeking the truth so they can die is what humans do anyway, right? In other words, Angie had spent all of her life trying to learn the truth. All Ban did was shorten that time to a single instant. When Angie-chan lost her hopes and dreams, she stopped valuing her own life. How can she be given hopes and dreams again? What can be done to help her find a reason for living? Are you asking me? I'm paper, right? Double-twisted curly super paper. I don't understand complicated stuff. After tossing the last bits of popcorn into her mouth, Lambda Delta threw the empty cup into the abyss of nothingness. Ban wasn't really pushing that kid to do something she didn't want. She was giving Angie a chance. Or should I call it a choice? Then Angie made the choice she wanted, appeared on the game board, and now in her game against Battler, she's making her own choices again. From start to finish, Angie's game has always belonged to Angie. Right now, I'm just a casual observer. So, not a particularly enthusiastic observer. Maybe. It's a play with an obvious ending. So, I've decided I might as well take my leave. You mean you'll stop watching a play just because you think you know how it will end, even though it might reach a climax you didn't expect? Lambda Delta licked her salty fingers. Then she stared at Leon challengingly and grinned. I know that Angie's game won't end this way. I know Betlacon's feelings will reach her. She'll understand that he wants her to live in a better future, and she'll choose that future of her own accord. I'm certain that's how this tale will end. Yeah, I'm not so sure about that. Huh? Are you talking to me, the Witch of Certainty, and saying that the outcome is certain? That's right. I guarantee it. Angie-chan's game won't end like this. So please, don't leave your seat. We won't leave either. There must be something we can do. And that will surely lead her to a better future. This tale will definitely have a happy ending. So keep watching until the end. I beg you. Even though I've already announced as the Witch of Certainty that this tale won't have a happy ending, the definition of a happy ending is something everyone watching gets to decide for themselves, right? For a while there was a tense silence. With a confident gaze that seemed to be saying, "Are you serious?" Lambda Delta stared at Leon. However, Leon's eyes didn't even twitch. For some time, they both stared into the other's eyes without flinching. Suddenly, Lambda Delta let out a large sigh and stretched. Well, I have nowhere better to be. Sure, I'll stick around a bit longer. If you get me some more popcorn, that is. I'm feeling like caramel flavor this time. If you come to the Golden Land, we'll serve you as much as you like. Lambda Delta waved at them with a thin smile. No one was quite sure what this meant, but it apparently signified her surrender in her own way. Okay, if you'll guarantee your own flavor or happy ending with certainty, then I, the great Lambda Delta, will stick around for a while longer. See how big my heart is? As wide as Lake Biwa! That's pretty thin, actually. And as gentle as the Sea of Japan. That is a very rough sea. Please, allow us to speak. It would seem she meant it the other way around. There was some muffled laughter. Lambda Delta is the witch who gives strength to those who possess unshakable willpower. Leon believed in a happy ending, and that certain enthusiasm might have been enough to earn a small miracle from Lambda. So I guess he meant as gentle as Lake Biwa and as wide as the Japanese Sea. The Sea of Japan. You'd better not let me get bored, okay? If you do, I'll leave right away. Of course. I'm sure Balakun will be glad to welcome you as well. Leon understood. In order to fight back against Bandcastle, who had taken Eiji outside the board, they would need the power of another who was capable of leaving the board. The last hope was to make sure Lambda Delta didn't abandon this game. However, judging by Lambda Delta's expression as she hummed to herself cheerily, actually asking her for help was probably going to be a problem. Look, Zippo, everything from the first floor down is gone. What a spectacle, not a sight you see every day. How have Badger's progressed upstairs? Alright, we came here to tell you that. Hey everyone, sorry to keep you waiting. They say the door to the Golden Land is opened. Finally. Let us go. This place will not be safe for long. Everyone who had been sitting on the staircase got up. I guess this is goodbye, Orokanjima the Beautiful. True. It may be a shadow of its former self, but this is the last time we'll see it, isn't it? What's with that gloomy attitude? Come on, show me, okay? Let's see a happy ending. Yeah, I wonder.